Hey guys, and welcome to the 7th episode of our second season of Building Greener Businesses. Thank you so much for joining us today, and a big welcome to my guests.
Thank you.
Nice Thank you so much. If you don't mind just introducing yourselves and where you come from.
Yeah, so we come from PWC. My name is Patricia. I'm a director there, and I've been part of the Net Zero Committee along with Roshan for
I think close to 2 years, no? Close to 2-3 years now at this point. We both work in assurance and what do you say? I also work with emerging technologies. So our main objective as well is to include emerging technologies as well as to see the impacts of it and reduce the impact of it in environment wherever possible.
That's really interesting.
Yes.
How long have you been working with them?
I think at this point 3 years, and with emerging technologies, especially with AI, it's been 1.5 years. And for us, because the thing is, you have to take it under consideration. You cannot add AI, you cannot go without AI in your business because everyone's embracing it.
Yeah.
And the issue is when everyone's embracing it, the technological impact and the impact to the environment itself is a lot. So you have to think about it as well. You cannot go,
it's a bit of a worry conversation. We're talking about environment as we always do.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the balance? You know, there's technologies and there's improvements in our lifestyle. Yeah. There's we always have to be ever evolving.
Exactly.
But I always have this very big but.
Yeah.
In a world where energy has to be as efficient as possible, we have to be careful with the use of all these things.
Yeah.
We have built a machine that uses the most energy that exists, I think, right now. And that worries me a little bit.
So one of the things that we do have is where our data centers are, or whatever the correct word for it is, we make sure they're in countries that use green energy. So they either have like solar panel energy or like wind energy or whatever, something like that. The countries that we do use for hosting are source green energy. So that's one of the ways you can.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's always ways that we can look at it. No, you have to think of, okay, like we're saying, we need to evolve this technology. We need to do all these things, but we need to do it in a cautious sort of way and in a responsible sort of way. I mean, how long have you been in PwC for?
I've been in PwC 18 years now.
So I can imagine you've been there from like when there was probably no talk about sustainability and environmental to now.
Yeah, AI wasn't a thing. Sustainability wasn't known about like it is now. So I started in audit about 18 years ago, like I said, and I mean, even pre-me, everything was done on paper. Everything was handwritten, everything was printed. People would cart around these massive paper files. Then we moved on to having a little bit online and then a little bit, still on the paper file. Yeah. And then now, since 2015, we've gone completely paperless. So we no longer have storerooms. We no longer have printing is very minimal. And as long as the client is happy, we do everything online. Yeah.
It's because it's very fun, because when I work, I've only started working 3 years now. And when I work with my seniors, my managers, and they tell me, Rosh, you have it really easy because we used to carry so much, so much of papers here and there. We used to walk like kilometers with it. And look at you now, everything is in your laptop. You just have to like electronically sign it. You don't have to do much. And sometimes you forget about it, no? As a new generation person, you forget about these things. And they tell you that it's gotten easier and it's gotten better in a sense. You were wasting so much paper and now I think we are close to not having as much as we used to. And that's amazing.
I think it's like what we have to say. We have to be clever in the way that we evolve and more efficient.
Exactly.
And I think that's been a way that technology has been. And
technology
I think that AI, we haven't even scratched the surface.
That's coming.
We haven't even scratched the surface with where we can go. But as long as we do this in a conscious way and not just a silly sort of thing, I think that, and I guess that's where you guys come along in the sense of like the auditing and so how have you guys seen companies evolve in these sort of ways? both locally and internationally.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is awareness. You know, like I don't think we expect anybody to have like perfectly net zero companies right now, but just the awareness. I think the generation coming up is putting pressure on even smaller companies, you know, to be green, to source sustainable materials, and even with like food, you know, companies as well, they want sustainable options and they're more aware of it. So I think in the beginning, it was when, you know, just the idea of ESG and sustainability and net zero came in, it was companies were like, this is a tick box exercise. It's a burden on the company. Yeah. And I think now companies are moving towards, well, actually, it's an opportunity. It's we can get the best talent in, and we can like look towards becoming more sustainable. We can work with better suppliers. We can, you know, attract consumers if we are doing this properly. So I think there's also been a change in mindset. No?
And to add to that, like all these small businesses, especially in Jib, when your clients are all focusing on ESG reporting and having sustainable ways of doing things, you cannot go, oh, we don't do that, because then you lose clients. You lose customers, because I think the generation growing up, we are trying to see ways, or we are trying to see products and services in a way which it adds value to our life. And if we don't see a company going through it, then we are probably best not to get the service from them. So it affects the smaller companies as well. And it is really important that you get ahead and do all the things right. Because especially right now, you know, cancel culture. If you're not doing something right, you're getting cancelled. So you have to do things right by you, by your company, by the environment, and, you know, for the people as well.
How would you ask people to I mean, let's just say I'm a small company. I am a small company, but, you know, I'm a small company and I'm going to start looking into how can I do that?
So I think firstly, really small steps. You don't have to all of a sudden have a massive plan that changes your whole business strategy or anything like that. Look, even with us, when we first moved to our new offices, we did a lot. No, we had, we don't have bins under every table. We only have one set of bins in the whole floor. So we have 4 floors and we have 4 sets of bins. And the bins are split into plastic and metal, cardboard and paper. So it forces people to recycle, and that's not a expensive thing to do. That's not it doesn't change the way that we work. We moved all our printers to one floor. So, you know, if you really, and as well, like, you know, you think twice. You're like, oh, do I really need to print that? It's fine. I can do it online or whatever. Yeah, and I think it's the whole point is because we did go paperless. We are putting things in place to ensure that happens. No, that goes, and it's just a natural part of the business. But look, we all can improve. When we first moved in, I remember we had these cardboard cups by the coffee machine, and every time someone had a coffee, they used one of these cups. And yes, you can say, okay, cardboard, it wasn't plastic cups and stuff, but we've since improved. We gave everybody their own ceramic cup, and now these reusable coffee mugs as well and stuff. And now we've gotten rid of the cardboard cup. So, you know, we keep on making our own improvements as well.
There's not that much waste. This is easier, actually.
Exactly.
You're thinking, why not?
It's even better. You don't have to fill up the rubbish bag so quickly, you know, and everyone has their own cup. It's more hygienic, I suppose, like everyone using their own one.
And to add to what Pat said, like especially for smaller companies, that's how we started, no? But especially for smaller companies, sometimes it can feel overwhelming because there's too many things, and when you look at it, all these reporting, you're like, we cannot do that. We're not ready for it. And see, this is where I believe the best saying that goes is, it's all about the journey, not the destination. Like you can make small steps every single day, and you actually might be doing something right. Like if you would separate your waste according to plastic, this, that, you've already taken a small step. Start with it. Go small.
Simple,
Exactly. Let's do simple steps, because think about the smaller steps. And in the future, when you think back or when you look back, you see you've made huge progress.
It's like the saying goes, it's only one plastic straw says 1 million people.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's just little steps, and I think if small companies are feeling overwhelmed by it, they shouldn't. They should like start small, little things, get advice. Look, we're a small community, and part of that is, you know, being able to speak to each other. Things like this, the awareness that you spread in Jib and stuff is excellent, and
I think that's a big part of it, because you have to remember you're not alone. For example, there are so many people who are ready to give you advice on it, be part of it, and we are all in it together in the end. So that's a big factor. Never think that you're alone. We're all in it together.
And no one's here to judge, right?
No one's here to judge.
It's like, I haven't done anything. What do you think? Some people get worried that they're going to ask that question because they're going to be judged that they haven't done anything.
Exactly.
And you're thinking, no, it's not going to be any judgment. It's going to be like, well, you're asking the question is because you want to do something. So let's help you along with the journey.
I think just the question in the beginning, like, okay, what do I do? Or the awareness that there's nothing done is a massive step forward anyway. So.
Yeah. So as for auditing, and I can imagine all these, because there has to be reporting, right? And everything else, how do you guys go about helping companies do that?
So there's various ways. Everything from the initial data collection. So we've been involved in creating like platforms for certain companies to actually collect that data from the beginning. We help with reporting as well. So I know there's some companies that caught under these EU regulations and they have required reporting. At the moment in Gibraltar, there's no law, but it is coming. We always get there in the end. So we also help with that. And on the other side, once there's a requirement to audit those reports, we can also do that. So there's a lot of ways in which we're helping companies, not maybe the smallest local companies at the moment, but I think it'll get there.
I think it's also influence, right? Because if the larger companies are put through these auditing reports, and you have to now, because if you've got X amount of employees or you're a certain amount, you make a certain amount of turnover, you need to do this reporting. But the scope 3s are the ones that you need to kind of, or if you want to supply these companies to a certain degree, their scope 3s are going to be affected if you're a small company and you don't do these sort of
and
things.
These larger companies are putting pressure on, the smaller companies to be in their supply chain or to be their consumers, and even consumers are pushing, towards choosing companies that are more sustainable, not only to buy from, but to work for and to, to promote and stuff. And like you said, social media nowadays and all this like young cancel culture and stuff is important, no? So I think it's important for definitely the younger generation to make sure you're sustainable and you're aware. And you're doing what you can.
Any particular section because I'm guessing you guys work with so many different companies in so many different industries, right? Any particular section that you think is leading in this sustainability, or do you think everyone's going in it together? And because I'm thinking in the tourism section, or the any sort of, because I'm guessing you guys would do.
I don't think there's any particular industry that's leading anyone else. I think it's a holistic general, like everyone is on board, everyone knows about it. Some people obviously are more advanced than others, but like I said, it's just small steps. I don't think anyone expects a printing company in Gibraltar to stop printing. That's not, but maybe they can supply like cutlery to the staff, so when they buy their lunch, they don't use the plastic cutlery. Little things, no? It's that's something that we did as well, no?
But one thing which we see as a positive is that all these companies in the future, they're willing to go the extra distance. I think that's what makes a big difference, is that while some companies where we believe that it was never going to happen, they're actually thinking about it, and they're like, okay, we need to make changes, and this is something which we might have to look into in the future. I think that's a small one, no? The change in the mindset, I think that's what makes a big difference. And I think that's one thing we've noticed, even though we're not able to quantify where exactly certain companies are, but we can see that, yes, there's an idea for change. And I think that makes a big difference.
And I think one of the first steps is awareness, no data collection. So you might not be ready, but you might not know where you are. You might think, like in terms of CO2 emissions or something, just to get an understanding of, okay, what is scope 1, what is scope 2, what is scope 3, what is, what can I change, what can't I? Stuff like that. No, I think is important. And I think that's what companies are starting to do now. Like I said before, not see it as a tick box exercise, not see it as a burden, but see it as an opportunity to move forward, no?
To evolve.
To evolve. And look, at the end of the day, it hits the bottom line at some point, whether it's because your suppliers or your consumers are putting that pressure on you.
The question will be asked eventually.
Yes.
If you're a serious company, it will be asked. So, what recommendation would you give? Have you seen a lot of people in Gibraltar being, receptive towards these changes and everything else?
I think a lot of people are scared. And I think my message would be, don't be scared, because, like I said, you're not looking for perfection. You're not looking for these 150-page sustainability reports that are going to be audited and cost thousands. I think it's just the small steps, the understanding where you are, understanding the little things that you can do. Even, I mentioned a printing company before, but even something like client invoices, they could maybe offer them online. Doesn't mean that you have to change your business and change your whole strategy and lose, profit and stuff. It's just the little things like changing with the times.
And sometimes we have been seeing that sustainability equals profitability.
Yes,
it does. You get more interest in more companies. You end up being more efficient in the way that you're, getting your products and your services and everything else.
Because I feel like at first, for all the companies, the reason it's so overwhelming as well is because they're thinking about direct cost. So when you think about implementing it at first, you're like, okay, that's a lot of cost, and I don't think we can do it. We're too small. I don't think it matters to us as much. But once you implement it, then you see in the future that you're actually doing way better than you did before. And the thing is, once you start doing it, there is more chances of you getting better contracts and better tenders because it's sustainable. Your business is sustainable. So government contracts, if in the future, everyone's thinking, oh, they're doing well. They're doing it for the environment and they're profit-based. So why not? We should be doing it.
So if anybody wanted to get some recommendations from you guys, advice or anything, be in contact with you guys, how would they be able to do this?
They can email us. I think you can put the email on the screen somewhere. Just email us. Give us a call. Look, there's no pressure. Chat sometimes is what people need, just to understand where they are, if it's not for today, for tomorrow, for next week, no?
Exactly. There's no too small company that can get in contact with you or too large of a company that can, anybody.
At all, We work with a big team over in the UK as well. Like I said, on everything from creating the technology, advisory, auditing, which we're not there yet on the assurance side, but we will be.
No, we tailor to the clients, no? Small, because we've been working with small businesses and even the larger ones in our firm. So I think we're kind of used to it. And especially in areas like this, I think this is something we're looking forward to in the future. So I think that would be great.